Okay, we are really starting to take things up a notch here. Our Zerg player is a top 50 world ranked opponent. At the recent TSL 8, he fought his way through the qualifiers and got himself a berth. He actually went to the round of 32, but then he hit Cyril. And that, of course, is going to end most people's run. If you're not familiar with Rattata, you might know him as Vanya. He's undergone a recent ID change. My point to all of this is, I think this is the highest skill level Zerg that we've ever put Magicall up against on this channel. It's really quite interesting. Bigger and bigger names are starting to interact with the Keiron. Anywho, we have a low ground edifice for Magicall. And it looks like Rattata's gonna go for a hatch first. There's no hatch block, so he's at liberty to take his natural. Our duel today is gonna take place on the map Berlingrad. There's no gas so far for our Keiron player. In fact, he's gonna go ahead and put down a second edifice. That's kinda like the equivalent of a double Rax Terran build. I've definitely seen it before, I just don't know if I've ever actually cast it before. In theory, once Magicall has the charges, he can make up to 6 volts at a time. Maybe we better get those intros out of the way. Just in case this is a rush, please take note of your rodent classification. Our Zerg player is not Mouse Tata or Gerbil Tata. He's Rattata!
Current world rank 33.
Moving to our Keiron player in blue in the bottom right. You'd best cast a detection spell on your treasure, because some of it could be magical!
Current world rank number 1 in my heart.
Magicall is a huge fan favorite around here, but I don't believe he's currently world ranked. Before he became a killer Keiron player, he was a Protoss player. I don't think he's going to get that Overlord here, but he is going to push it back to a very far perching point. And that big pink pudding means he's going to take his natural, so whatever Magicall's up to with that double edifice, it's not going to be a one-base strategy. Rattata is going to go for 2 queens, 4 lings, and he's going to get to work on researching ling speed right away. Pretty tiny investments in army size so far. Both players focusing on their harvester counts right now. Oh, modified gate being researched. That's earlier than we're used to. That's the edifice speed upgrade. It affects both volts and pariahs. Magicall typically goes for volts, but he's really good with pariahs. He does this great move with projection where he cuts off his opponent's retreat. It's kind of like a blocking shade. So Rattata gets his 3rd hatch down under the 3-minute mark, the old 3 under 3. And he's got his Ling Scouts out checking Magicall's 3rd base locations. He wants to make sure he's got the lead on expansions. There's no wall yet for our Keiron player, but 2 volts can easily handle a single Zergling, especially once that speed upgrade kicks in. Magicall does have his gas flowing now. Look at the vision that Rattata has over the map. Between his Lings and his Overlords, he's getting the 4-1-1, and he's aggressively pushing out that creep. The Queen's looking out for Hellions trying to wreck her creep tumors, but there aren't any. Magicall puts down his Reliquary. That's the numeric upgrade facility. It also unlocks your static defense. Magicall's using it to fill out his wall. He's got a Sanctum now, so I want to see if he's going to use a Pulsar like Alex as his door guard. Roach Warren goes down for Rattata. Everything's screaming classic Zerg about Rattata's play right now. If he's got modifications for playing against the Keiron, he's not showing it yet. Oh, there is a Pulsar, but it's not a door guard. It looks like a Vanguard. Magicall's racking up the volts and his speed upgrade's about to finish. Yeah, he's pushing out with a very specific timing. Oh, but he cut to the left, so that means Rattata's Overlord's gonna see that. Though, if he cuts to the right, there was a Ling who could probably pick that up. +1 bio attack is researching. Believe it or not, volts are bio. Seeing Magicall pull out, Rattata tries to sneak in. But there's a Pariah there as a door guard. He's biological too. As are the Pulsars. Look how quick he got across the map. Magicall snipes the Spine Crawler. And he supply blocked Rattata, which means he killed an Overlord on his way over, which means I missed the first blood. And he gets a Queen. He's just murdering them. But now the Roaches are here, and it takes a lot of volt hits to bring down a Roach. Rattata's got 4 of them, and he's got 5 more Roaches on the way. Can the Zerg make them faster than the Keiron can kill them? 10 drones dead! Magical with a savage opening strike. Rattata will get the cleanup. Rattata focuses down every last Volt. And the Pariah Door Guard is the sum total of Magical's remaining army. Meanwhile, Rattata has a ton of roaches available to counter. He goes for a massive round of 8 ketchup drones. Ketchup is the only condiment that will help him right now. Mustard and relish will not assist, at least until the late game anyway. The resources lost tab doesn't make that look so bad for Rattata. Losing all 16 of his volts was pretty expensive for Magical. But I bet he'd gladly do it again for that level of economic damage. Rattata's getting a lair, but Magical's going on a shopping spree. He's getting double outlets. Get ready for Auroras, people. I think this game was played right before the Aurora nerf. I like this. Magical forced out a ton of roaches, and now he's going to go air to deal with them. We'll have to see what Rattata's going to do with his lair tech, but if he's just going for the standard roach speed, he won't be too happy. Auroras beat on roaches kind of like Banshees do. They don't do any special type damage, but boy can they rain those unreturned shots. Rattata did not send his army to counter, he just sent a single roach scout. One that's about to lose his life. Oh, there's a pariah projection. That's that cutoff move I was talking about. Magical is so good at that, so good. Rattata does go for roach speed, but I am so wrong. Look what else he's gone for. A Nidus network, we're gonna have ourselves an entertaining game. This makes it official. The main base on Berlingrad is really wide. It's hard to get complete total vision of it, which means I could totally see a Nidus worm sneaking in there. But to do that, Rattata has to have vision of the base first, and I don't see any overlords in position to do that. Magical's third is saturated, and his first 3 Auroras arrive. He actually went for a triple outlet. If he wasn't making a Nidus, I'd be wondering if Rattata had enough queens to survive. Another cool thing that occurs to me is Auroras are also biological. They're one of those double-typed biomechanical units. That means they're also going to benefit from the +1 numeric upgrade that Magical lined up. This is a really well thought out progression by our Keiron player. Those little yellow balls are called emanators. They grant vision and detection, which makes Auroras really excellent at killing creep. Part of the nerf that the Aurora got was to really increase the cooldown between the time they can put out those emanators. Oh, Rattata got vision of the Keiron main after all. He's distracting us with his Ling run by, but he's got a worm forming in the main there. Magical aborts his attack and runs back. His army's trapped in the middle of the map. He did not want it to be there. And he starts up quadruple edifice at the worst time. He hears the worm, but he doesn't see it, and it's gonna belch queens in his face. There's the overseer that granted the vision to pull this off. Second worm going down. Magical's army's here though. He's gonna meet this head on. There's a lot of queens to beat those Auroras back though. Magical energizes his citadel, gives himself that all-important armor bomb. Oh, your blood pressure has to rise when you see that many Zerg in your main. One of Rattata's queens did put down a creep tumor. All those edifices are lost, no cancels. But I've finally clued in. Magical threw up those edifices to build a wall to save his main. It was an expensive shield of hit points, but it might have just done the job. Rattata's not reinforcing. Oh, scratch that, he's sending in Lings. Much harder for those Meridians to kill those efficiently. Magical takes down the worm, seals that door. But the Lings are in his base. A new worm's getting made behind his mineral line. And at the same time, Rattata has started up a spire. There's another energize. Magical's remaking the edifices. Is it a defensive wall or does he want 1,000,000 volts? Maybe it's both. Worm number 3 completes. The Auroras are on it. Are they too late? More Lings coming in. 10 dead workers so far and the damage is piling up. There's so many Auroras though. They really focus down that worm. Volts shaping in to deal with that overseer. Oh, Magical needs to drop an emanator to deal with that tumor. I don't think he saw it. Looks like he's gonna try to counterattack. Oh, Rattata expands the tumor. No, the Volts are on it. They catch it. Oh, I love this. A follow-up attack on the 3rd. Magical was trying to put down his edifices there. Rattata diverts to the natural and the 3rd. Magical with the wall block just in time. That pudding pop could not have been a nanosecond later. Magical just holding on by the skin of his teeth. He does actually have a worker lead and a supply lead. And now he's finally able to retaliate. He's got that huge Aurora army, but it's got a clock on it. The spires are done, mutas are on the way. With that many Auroras, he just overpowers those queens. Vengeance belongs to the Keiron. 5 quick drone kills, but they gotta get out of there. The mutas are here. Auroras cannot outrun a Mutalisk. And unable to attack air, they cannot fight back. That is an expensive fleet that is gonna die, and just like that, Magical Supply takes a tumble. Somehow, though, he got a 4th up in all of this. Oh, and Rattata got up another worm. This game is officially crazy. Zerg's using that leftover creep tumor for vision. Magical's gotta get rid of that thing. But he's been kinda busy. The Auroras are wiped out, and now Rattata's going after that 4th base. Magical has been shaping in subjectors. He did see this problem. Oh, it's another worm, and it's loaded with roaches. Magical just getting hit on all sides. He swings his army north to save his 4th. That's gonna pull him way out of position. The mutas are the bait. Oh, he's just sucking that army as far up top as possible. Oh, the Meridian actually has the range to drain those mutas. But if he's alone, he can just get clobbered. Oh, I see, he's the counterbait to pull the mutas back. Worm is done. Roaches and queens are here, and the roaches are morphing into Ravagers. Does Magical have enough to fend this off a second time? This time around, he does not have Auroras. Oh, but he does have lightning bolts from his Meridians. That's gonna help. And he fired off another Energize. Maybe he's just got enough. Rattata says no and puts up another worm. 14 converters die. The main is overrun. And it looks like I missed a Ling attack on the 4th. Rattata is everywhere. Oh, there's even a worm going up outside the 4th. Oh, this is too much. This is turning into a bludgeoning. Zerg has almost double the army now. Rattata's going for the jugular. He does not want to give the Keiron the chance to get back up. No, he pulls back into the worm. How? How did Magical hold that? I thought he was a goner. I love how when the worm dies, it kind of looks like a hand puppet. Somebody's got their arm in a sock and pushing it up through the creep. Now he just needs to kill that creep tumor this time. I don't think he has vision of it though. He doesn't have an Aurora to drop an Emanator. His Meridian could cast Beholder if he has the energy. Well, I guess he'll patrol the creep and get ready for the next worm then. Oh, and look where the departing roaches popped up. Rattata's gonna get the kill on that 4th. And it's gonna be another worm in the main. The Volts are on it though. Is there enough firepower though? That worm is roach loaded. It's 4 bases to 3, Magical with a slight worker lead. But the army is all Rattata. He is triple the size. And he's reassaulting the main for what feels like the 10th time. Why won't that Citadel die? Why? Zerg has no numeric upgrades, by the way. Keiron's about to get +2 bio attack to go with his +1 bio armor. But the Citadel is still overpowered and it falls. 4 bases to 2, Magical is way on the back foot. He's got Auroras again though. Things happen when you have those Auroras. He did just lose 33 workers though. Remarkably, he would have still been on pace with Rattata, except Rattata just made 10 more. Yeah, Zerg is droning like crazy. Okay, this time he's got to get that creep tumor for sure. Oh no, he's leaving it. For a second I thought he decided to abandon his main, but he is rebuilding there with a new Citadel. Oh, there is no lull. Rattata's coming right back. I thought he was going to drone and get his muta count up, but no, he's looking to end this. What a game. I really respect these Russian players. So assertive. Roaches piling out of Worm 1000. The Volts see it, but there are not enough of them. Rattata's pulling out 1,000 more minerals a minute than his opponent, and he's spending it on a huge mutaflock. That's bad news for those Auroras. The Auroras are going to have to pull back to save the main yet again. Magical will clean this up somehow, he always does. And he protects his 3rd at the same time on a shoestring budget, just using some Meridians. Worm's going down. Magical's gotta kill that creep tumor for sure this time. Otherwise, the next worm is just guaranteed. He must not realize it. He must think his leftover creep from the worm. Remember, the tumor's cloaked. Magical doesn't get to see the bump like we do. Oh, Magical's 3rd is showing signs of getting mined out. Unless he gets an expansion, he is on a clock. Rattata, on the other hand, is droned up to over 70 workers. He's got that full Zerg econ thing going. There's a lot of Stratus air turrets protecting the 3rd, but are there enough? Rattata says no and just starts killing the converters. Poor little mouse-like dudes. All they wanted to do in life was convert things. Is that so wrong? 15 harvesters dead. The Keiron economy is almost on life support at this point. Magicall knows it's go time. He's pushing out to attack. He's gotta know he can't defend at the same time. This feels base racy to me. Yeah, he's trying to hold it on turrets alone, and that is not gonna work. Okay, I think this might be the type of moment to do that split screen thing everybody's been requesting. I'm gonna switch over to Magicall, and then I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna come back and film Rattata later, and you'll see the Harvester death on the left-hand side, almost like a score tally. I hope this works. If Magicall's attack lasts 4 seconds, it'll be a big fail. But that's a lot of volts, and they're heavily upgraded. They've got latent charge, so their shots are bouncing around now. But 31 dead converters. Magicall just getting hollowed out back at home. Yeah, our Keiron player's committed now. This is officially a base race. At least it is for Magicall. Rattata's still looking to try to defend here. His income's collapsing, but he can still afford to buy a huge round of roaches. How far can Magicall take this push? 22 dead drones! He forces his way into the natural. Rattata looks to sack it. He decides to guard his ramp and make a ton of Ravagers. Oh my god, could Magicall actually pull this off? This would be a huge comeback. Here comes Rattata! The Ravagers shoot down the ramp. He ignores the Auroras and starts focusing down the Volts. Magicall is in flight. Does that then seal the game for Rattata? I thought this game was over like 3 times already. Magicall's running back to his base. He's remaking converters. Somehow he cleaned up the attack in his own base. And he used emanators to take care of the creep tumors in his base. The worker counts are even, but Rattata's up to 5 bases. He's definitely got the superior economy. And he is gonna wield it. He puts 8 drones on back order. Rattata's also started researching pathogen glands. That's the infestor energy upgrade. I don't suppose it's for microbial shroud to defend against the Auroras. Oh my god, he's putting in another worm, even without the creep tumor. Rattata's just doing it the old-fashioned way. He's using an overlord. Magicall's gonna see it right away, but he doesn't have the muscle to take it down. Worm gets up. It's like Groundhog Day at this point. Meanwhile, Magicall clears out the Zerg 4th. Notice that Magicall's adding in Umbra. I finally clued in that the Umbra are the Keiron's principal means of doing bonus damage against armor. That makes them very suitable roach killers, or an anything killer if your opponent lacks detection. Magicall gets the snipe on an Evo and then pulls back. But what is the state of his main base? It's fine. He's actually cleaned it up again. I'm not sure much came out of that worm, but I don't think Magicall can breathe too much of a sigh of relief. Rattata has double the army size, and his new base is up and running. But our Zerg player has to find a way to close this out. Magicall just refuses to die. He's resorted to long-distance mining, also known as a lunch buffet to these Zerglings. Who doesn't love it when fresh snacks just keep streaming in? Great instincts by Rattata. He just shuts this down at exactly the right time. And just like that, Magicall's down to 36 workers yet again. He's still got 5 Auroras. Oh, fungal growth and caustic bile. I was about to say, until there's mutas, Magicall has free reign yet again, but that is not the case. But as cool a spat of micro as that was, Magicall is killing expensive Ravagers. Rattata realizes he's not going to have an army by the time he gets across the map, and he pulls back. Instead, he's going for solution number 3. He's making Corruptors. Once again, that puts Magicall on the clock. He's got to do damage before those Corruptors arrive. He's not exactly twiddling his thumbs here. He has put a huge dent into the Zerg army. Nobody has any workers. And the first Corruptor has arrived. So we're going to have Roach Ravager fleeing Auroras who are fleeing Corruptors. We're about to learn who has the greater movement speed, Corruptors or Auroras. They look pretty darn close. Oh, the Corruptor just smokes an Aurora there. Big decision point for Magicall. Does he get out of there or does he try to do some more damage? He's going to try to flee. Rattata starts his first numeric upgrade, ranged attack. Magicall's bringing up his Volts to try to save his Auroras. But the Lings are looking to intercept. Here come the Volts with that 2-legged hustle. Rattata sees the rock, scissors, paper and he pulls back. 4 Auroras have been rescued. Magicall is looking really good for a player down 50% supply. Oh, but going up this ramp would be really bad. Rattata fungled the ramp. I thought that would be so much worse for Magicall. That was a very cool move by Rattata. Oh, he's going up the ramp anyway. I wouldn't have thought he wanted that fight. Rattata makes a ton of roaches to reinforce. He's got the defender's advantage here. Fungal hits everything. Oh, and when the dust clears, Magicall's army has been eviscerated. He starts shaping in 7 more Volts and 2 Umbra to try to juice up his supply. Meanwhile, Lings have chased off the converters in the main. They've cleared out the natural. Magicall's income has collapsed. He is on life support. The Keiron player is down on every metric except for upgrades and the adjutant's love. I don't know how Magicall is keeping this up, and I think the answer is he can't. If I would have thought he had to tap out ages ago and still he fights on, I am loving it. Magicall's gonna make another edifice to add more Volts. Shocking, but it's true. Clearly he's looking for a way to jumpstart his game. But at this point, I don't think he can pay the power bill. Rattata's army supply outnumbers the Keiron 4-1. You gotta like those odds. Yeah, there's a roach supply tax in there, but even at 3-1, it would be redonkulous. Rattata's gonna celebrate by retaking another 5th base in the bottom left. What can Magicall do here? Whatever it is, he's gonna have to do it on a budget. He has no income. Zerglings chewing up the wall unopposed. That edifice looks like it's growing a red bushy beard. A red bushy beard that explodes, apparently. The Volts get back, but they are just a tad too late. He chases the Lings into his main, and from there they will not escape. But the production tab tells the story. Rattata's making everything, Magicall nothing. Oh, I love that. He energizes his army as it drives through. Twice. He really doesn't have any workers to speed up, but he can make sure that his units have their full shields. Corruptors are slipping in. There's not a lot of targets for them unless they want to go for the old green vomit. They do spot that the long distance mining has resumed, which means Lings will probably be there very shortly. Man, you gotta respect the tenacity of our Keiron player. Here he is again, taking another shot at this. No, he sees the sheer size of the Zerg army and he knows he has to tap out. It's GG. But come on, that was a good one. Quick point of StarCraft 2 trivia. Rattata is not the first StarCraft player to name himself after a Pokemon. South Korea used to have a very well-known pro that went by the ID Squirtle. Squirtle was a Protoss player. We lost him to mandatory military service. He had some mad skills and at one point was a GSL finalist. Hey, give me a few seconds. I want to show you something crazy. I took some stills off of one of the edifice explosions in this game. The results were really impressive. Definitely something for the StarCraft Art Museum. I almost feel like I'm looking at the works of Monet here. It looks like there's some kind of physical and temporal distortion. The physical forms of the Zerglings and the Volts are getting all twisted. It's sort of like when the Keiron explode, so does reality. Dude, these video games are heavy. Anywho, in terms of the actual game that we just watched, I don't have too much to say other than that I remain conflicted over whether Magicall actually meant to protect his main by building those edifices. I keep changing my mind, but I don't think he did. I think it was a coincidence. I think he was just trying to volt up. And maybe things would have gone just as well for him if he had spent that 1,000 minerals on units. But it sure looked like he walled off and wound up saving his tournament life. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to ask him. But either way, what a cool game these players brought us. Relentless Nidus worms, and I just love how Magicall keeps charging up all his units by running them past his citadels as he hits that energize. That takes a combination of practice and instinct. I always like to thank this guy for organizing these awesome Keiron events, and I like to thank this guy for bringing us the Keiron to begin with. And of course, all you viewers that subscribe and support the channel, we can't do it without you. So let me just say, from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.